Loneliness is an epidemic in America. And I say America because in America, where we are the land of the individual identity and freedoms and wants and needs, what happens is we have done so much of that growing up, where we have just pursued our own individual path, where we have unfortunately isolated or disconnected from our loved ones. We have failed to build community. Building community is not just about people that we are in, blood relatives to us. Building community is just people that we have fostered those relationships with. And so, as a therapist, I have the privilege of working with a lot of clients who are in their 60s and 70s that are retired or retiring and living on their own. Kids are grown. They've had, productive lives, or they've made mistakes, and for whatever reason, kids have either chose to not speak to them, or they're just too busy with their own lives. And you've got seniors, and I say that loosely because I'm just a decade away from joining them, okay, where they are alone, they're lonely, they're retired, they've had decent lives, maybe there's some regret, but they are sad, they're disconnected, they're crying, sitting in my office about how much they're crying at home by themselves. Now, you don't have to be a senior citizen or someone older to feel that way. You may feel disconnected and lonely now. There was a study done, 75-year study that Harvard published, and you can Google 75-year-old Harvard study on life, where they followed little kids all the way from when they were just babies to when they were seniors, and they studied and followed them to see what their life was like, their educational, married, divorces, illnesses, and then of course at the end of the study they studied the quality of happiness and joy in life. And what they discovered was that it didn't matter how much money someone had. To at the end of life, when it came to just being people living in their 60s and 70s and retired, there was a loneliness epidemic that they realized. The connection you have with people, the more in community you are, the more healthy you are, the more joyful your life is, the more meaning your life has. But if you are someone who is disconnected and isolated from being a part of a community, then you tend to have health issues. You tend to have depression, anxiety, isolation. How do you resolve that? You resolve that by getting yourself out there in community. The best way to do this is to volunteer. And this is my suggestion and my recommendation for anyone who feels sad, is depressed, is anxious, is really struggling. Go serve. Go be of service to other people. Because when you do that, you will get out of your own head, and energetically, what you give to others, your time, your attention, your laughter, your stories, your presence, that will come back multiplied to you. It's just one of the universal laws. So if you're able to, go volunteer. Whether it's at the animal shelter, whether it's at the senior citizen home, whether it's at the hospital. Some places are harder to go volunteer because of background checks, but go serve. Look up Volunteers of America. I'm sure there's an organization. I'm sure people will tell me. But go get yourself out there. If you're able to, go join the local YMCA or the local senior center and start participating in activities. If you can afford it, start taking a yoga class or a Tai Chi class or pickleball or whatever it is that brings you joy, right? Do something. Do something, whether it's going back to church and going back to the mosque and being part of community that way, but something that will put you back in community so that you can have the human interactions, because we all need that so desperately. We can end this loneliness epidemic. Why do I pronounce that wrong? And if you have older parents, just be mindful. We are so busy in our 30s and 40s, and even our 50s, just building our careers, building our families, being busy, that we forget that our seniors, our elders, they need us. And all they really want for the most part is our time, which is the most expensive and hardest thing to share. I'm guilty of this too, don't get me wrong. But all we can do is try and do better every day. Love and light. Take care.